Welcome, beautiful souls. I have an incredible interview to share with you today. I'm joining forces with a great friend and an incredible crystal mentor. And we're going to be sharing a lot today about how to follow your genuine path, listening to your core essence, and using the power of crystals to assist in your journey from an incredible crystal expert. So stay with me. I'll be right back.
Welcome to Howling at the Moon, where the mystical meets the practical, and the canine spirit guides lead the way. I'm your host, Heatherleigh Strom. In 2022, I experienced a sudden, life-changing spiritual awakening. After a lifetime of struggling with, who am I and why am I here? For 5 decades, the world felt cold and confusing. Now I see the patterns, the purpose, and the bigger magical picture. My mission? To help you find your way through your own awakening journey. Here, you'll discover limitless possibilities for spiritual growth, powerful healing frequencies, and extraordinary energetic professionals, each designed to guide you into deeper healing and remembrance. Some episodes feature enlightening wisdom from spiritually evolved guest healers, visionaries, and authors. Others are led by the multidimensional canine spirit guides themselves, sharing their unique intergalactic wisdom and frequency. If you've been craving deeper truth, multidimensional healing, and a little cosmic magic, you've just found your pack. Listen and watch on Spotify or YouTube, and bring the magic back into your life.
So today I have a very special guest, Vivien Schapera, who is an award-winning teacher and author and energy healer practitioner. She has founded 3 schools: the Alexander Technique of Cincinnati, 4 Winds Academy for the Healing Arts and Sciences, and crystalhealingtechnique.com, which is for training practitioners of crystal surgery. Vivien is also the author of several books, including Everyday Magic, which is an account of her personal story, and The Complete Guide to Crystal Surgery, a huge textbook, which is beautiful, a step-by-step textbook for her students in her program. Currently, Vivien also runs her private practice, writes a column for the Relatable Voice magazine, and is a radio show host for the Schapera Show on healthylife.net. I'm really excited to introduce her to you. Vivien, welcome to Howling at the Moon with the Canine Guides. I'm so excited to share you with the world on my podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Heatherleigh. I'm excited too because, it feels like an honor. Out of all the people that I've interviewed, you just rose to the top as being someone extra interesting, extra exciting, and extra important and significant, And so it just feels like an honor for you to interview me also and to give me this opportunity. I'm so thrilled. I really admire your work, and so I feel good. I feel good to be here.
Thank you. And that is how we met. I wanted to kind of share that story. My publicist put us together last year for an interview on your show. And the whole time I was talking with you, it wasn't video, it was only audio. So I couldn't see you. I really love to see people, to connect visually with people. And it was so hard for me to just connect on the phone. But the whole time we were talking, the canine guides are like shouting in my ear, "You've got to get to know this person better."
Oh.
She's a key figure. She's very important with her mission that she's providing, and it also sort of integrates with my mission as well, which we'll talk about a little bit too. But first,
Yes,
I would love.
there's a lot of parallels between us. And that's one of the things that really struck me, because I've also been downloading information from other, from the crystals and from spirit guides and so on. And so are you. And we've been selected by the other side. And I think they try to get other people, but we heard them and we responded and we were willing to write and so on. So it's not as if we're the only ones selected, but we are the ones who responded. And that was what struck me when talking to you, Heatherleigh, is that you're in a very similar position to me. And we both were probably going, what? What now? You know, are you serious? Because certainly I was in that position. Sorry to interrupt, but I can't help. I'm so enthusiastic about the parallels between us. It feels good.
It does feel good. And it's a very, there are so many of us that have a similar story. And that's what's so exciting right now, is that so many people are answering the call. And that's a scary place when you don't know where you're going. You're just following step by step by step by step. It takes tremendous amount of trust and faith. And so those of us
time and dedication, and a willingness to take a risk,
to step outside of who we thought we were, you know, and discover who we actually are and who we can be. So
and Heatherleigh, can I just add that what's very important to me on my show is that we have regular people, not celebrities who've got like a PR machine behind them, but regular people such as ourselves who've taken the risk and have put in all that extra hard work to get the messages out. And there's no machine or huge team of people behind us. We have what we have, and we have the other side. And that's where I'm hoping that every single person realizes they've got something special to offer too. They just need to hear and listen and take some risks. And that's very important to me, because every single person has this potential, in my understanding.
Yes, that's my understanding as well. And that's kind of where both of our journeys collide and meet and mesh, is because my work is so similar to yours, and waking people up and getting them connected to that part of themselves so they can hear and they can take action and understand what they're here to fulfill.
Yes.
So with no further ado, let's hear a little bit more about your journey, what brought you to this point in your life, and what your actual mission is, and your knowledge of crystals.
Well, my journey is very interesting, so interesting that I also wrote a book, and that's this one, Everyday Magic. And it's, I guess you could call it a memoir, but I think that it's more a case study, and it's written in a way that people will be able to relate to it as themselves. They can, and many people write to me after reading the book and they say, I feel like my story and your story is so similar. And I think that is the truth. We all actually have similar parallel stories. Just like you and me, we have these similar parallel stories, but so does everybody else. The spirit guides are there trying to contact and connect with everybody. And those who hear them, well, their lives change, as we know. And when I wrote the book, my intention was just to talk about my story. After I'd written it, and it did take me 6 drafts in 7 years, and after I wrote it, I noticed something really interesting. In every single chapter, the spirit guides appeared. And that wasn't a conscious thing for me until I reread my own book. And then I realized, hey, this isn't a book about me. This is a book about how the spirit guides interact with us to steer our lives. So that's one of the things that's in this book. That's one of the themes. It's also, another theme is about teachers. And that was, it was a book by Dan Millman, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And I read that book and I thought, wow, I wish I had a teacher like that. And then
I read that book as a child. Yeah.
Yes, I was a teenager. And I thought, well, I couldn't have been a teenager. I was in my 20s probably. Or maybe I was in my 30s. But I read the book and I thought, I wish I had a teacher like that. And then I went, no, but that is a synthesis. That's a synthesis of multiple teachers. And then later I read in the foreword that truly was the case. And I went, I have had the most extraordinary teachers in my life. And this is a book about teachers as well. It's very similar in that regard to The Way of the Peaceful Warriors, because it shows how I got guided into these different things. So there's a little bit about that, and that's more sort of about the book. But I just had there are some amazing stories that I can't believe in the book about how I got communicated with and steered. And it was really a matter of taking some leaps of faith and just following the guidance. And the guidance came to me in various ways. There was also a book, God Speaks to Us Through Other People, and there was definitely that element where I had to hear what other people were saying to me, and there'd be a theme. And I'll give an example. We very much wanted to emigrate to the United States of America. And, it's not an easy thing to do. We weren't going to just try and run across the border or something. And it was not at all easy. And then a strange thing started to happen. I was an Alexander teacher in Cape Town. And there were only a few of us that had qualified as Alexander Technique teachers in South Africa. And I kept getting calls from Johannesburg. And after the third call, I thought, I wonder what's going on. I really wonder what's going on here. And I better make a list and take the phone numbers of these people, because the first person said, sorry, there's no Alexander teachers in Johannesburg. The second person called that same week. I said, sorry, no, there's no Alexander teachers in South Africa. Third person called and I went, I think I better be recording these names and phone numbers. Now I'm talking in the 1980s in Cape Town, South Africa. And then sure enough, the following week, I got a whole bunch more calls. And I went, there really is something going on. I need to go. I'm being called to Johannesburg. I need to go there. Now, the logistics were a nightmare. My son, Aiden, was only 18 months old. And I'm not one to go driving around in strange cities and so on. So Neil and I both went up to Johannesburg. We took Aiden with us. Our second son wasn't born yet. And it was a logistic nightmare. We had to find somewhere to stay where we could also work. And at the last minute, this whole beautiful home became available. And everything started to fall into place. And we sent our car up by rail to Johannesburg, as well as some of our Alexander Technique equipment. And we were incredibly successful. There was a group of meditation people, and they all wanted Alexander lessons because they'd heard that this would help them with a more upright spine. And that's what the Alexander Technique is, I should say. It's about retraining postural and habitual patterns. And so people wanted for meditation so that their spine can be correctly aligned for the energy to move correctly. And so then that's what appealed to them. And so that whole group of 10 people was wanting lessons. And then there were some stragglers who heard we were coming. But by the end of the week, we had a full book. I was seeing 12 people a day. And Neil was seeing 10 people a day. And the phone was ringing off the hook. This was the days before cell phones and so on, because we're talking the 1980s.
Yeah.
And it was actually Easter, and it was full moon. And I was staring out the window, and I went into a trance, and the clouds were drifting across the moon. It was iconic. There was the tree branch across the moon and the clouds. There wasn't an owl hooting, but it was as if there was an owl hooting. And I fell into this trance, and this whole vision came to me. I saw the city of Cincinnati in Ohio rolling out a red carpet to me, and inviting me across the ocean to go to the USA.
Wow.
And I went, oh, because Johannesburg is built on 7 hills and Cincinnati is built on 7 hills. Both are landlocked. There are similarities, there are parallels between those two cities. And once I was in Johannesburg, I was able to get the vision of how to get into the United States, how to get our green cards and get access to the United States of America.
Wow.
And so then it unfolded from there, and it was successful. And it was answering the call, because I'm telling you, Heatherleigh, everybody said, why are you going to Johannesburg? I mean, I didn't understand the concept when I was young. I mean, at that time I was young. I was in my early 30s, and I just qualified as an Alexander teacher when I turned 28 years old. And then I became very popular, and I didn't realize it, but it's what we call now trending. I was trending in the country, even though I was in Cape Town.
Wow.
And I was in all the magazines like Cosmopolitan and everything. It's like newspapers. Everybody was making this grand fuss, and all the celebrities were coming to me. And I was just, but I was naive and I was innocent, and I didn't really understand what was happening. But I was so busy. I was seeing 73 appointments per week. These were half-hour appointments. It was grueling. And it was like, people were saying, but why are you going to Johannesburg? Because I didn't need to go to Johannesburg to earn money. But there was a reason. And I said, I don't know. I don't know why I'm going to Johannesburg, but I'm being called there.
You followed. Yeah. You listened.
And I will find out when I get there why I'm supposed to go. And when I was in Johannesburg on that weekend, I figured out how to get green cards and get into the United States of America. And I know, where do I live? In Cincinnati, Ohio, USA, per the vision. We followed the vision, and it all worked out. It was amazing.
And how long have you been there now?
33 years.
Wow.
So, quite a nice number, isn't it? So 33
yes.
Yeah. So I started, my very first desire was to be a teacher, and then also naturally a writer. That's sort of my natural gift, is writing. It's like my natural talent, which is really interesting to have a natural talent, because it's so different from the ones where you plod through to learn the skills and so on. So I rather like that writing is a natural talent for me, and I'm grateful for it. And then I wanted to be a teacher, but I realized I didn't want to be a teacher in institutions. I couldn't bear the thought of listening to the school bell ringing for the rest of my life. And this whole syllabus thing, being told what to do and stuff like that. So, I thought, well, whatever. And then when I was 11 years old, my teacher said to me, there's an article on clinical psychology in that magazine. It was a career magazine for children. You might want to take a look at it. And I just looked at her and I went, that's what I'm going to become, a clinical psychologist. And she just looked at me, and it was because I had this thing inside me, which I do talk about in Everyday Magic, where a bell would ring when I heard a truth. It felt like a little bell ringing inside. Yeah. And, I didn't realize it, but of course that's intuition. And I was naturally intuitive. I'm also a very logical person. So, things get hidden from you when you're kind of on the cusp of logic and intuition and those kind of faculties. Then you don't really realize, and you don't really understand what's going on with other people. But I'm right there in the middle. If you do Myers-Briggs or one of those personality tests, I'm always coming out right in the middle of all those different functions. So anyway, I've decided at the age of 11 to become a clinical psychologist, but I got blocked. And I got blocked because there was a professor who was not a good person, and I kind of reported him. I kind of told on him, and that was a bad political move. And so I got blocked from continuing with clinical psychology. Now, he later got booted out because other people got onto the fact that he was actually, not a good egg. But but I was actually just being steered in another direction. And that was the Alexander technique. And when I was working as an Alexander teacher and seeing all those people, I had this one experience where this Greek guy, he was a martial artist, karate instructor. He came, and right after him came this beautiful young woman who was a cellist, and she was literally dressed in white like an angel. So here this big Greek martial artist guy is leaving my appointment room, and in comes this amazing young woman who's a cellist and like an angel and a fairy and, you know, all that kind of stuff, even dressed down to being dressed in white. And the energy shift, the yin-yang energy shift was so strong. And I wasn't into this, you know, new age woo-woo stuff. It was what happened. It was an experience for me. And the energy, yin-yang energy shift from the extreme yang to the extreme yin spun me around and made me dizzy so that I landed sort of flopping into the chair. And I was dizzy and I had to collect myself. And I was like, it was such a clear experience. And so that started to interest me in the energy field. And as I kind of discovered it, I discovered the intuition, and I discovered mental telepathy. I mean, I had one client lying on the table and he said, I can't really do this and relax. I started taking him through a meditation for the chakra colors. I knew a little bit about energy work and knew a little bit about the chakras, because obviously that was going to be interesting to me, but I didn't know a lot.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let's do a meditation through the chakra colors. I was doing a guided meditation, and I told him to think of the colors. And then I said, but not in stripes like a color palette. I said, you know, you got to let them be swirly. And he got very upset, and he glared at me and he said, are you reading my mind? And I went, ooh, because I was, but I didn't realize it. I was just seeing the pictures of what he was seeing in his mind. You know, I was so innocent about it all. And, you know, anyway, so that, you know, there's these stories. I mean, there was one guy, I was holding his head and I couldn't feel his feet. And, you know, the whole thing for an Alexander teacher is that you can literally feel through somebody else's systems. And you can feel their physical being, and you can feel what's going on with them. And, you know, so it's an excellent platform for energy healing work. And that's what I use in my private practice now. I use all three of these different things that I'm able to do, and more than that. And so I'm holding his head, and I go, why can't I feel your feet and your legs below your knees? And he says, because when I was 5 years old, they were going to amputate my legs just below the knees. And my uncle carried me out of the hospital on his back. And there came this story. And I was like, wow, how weird is that I could feel that and know that? Anyway, it kind of built up over time. And back in South Africa, I was stuck purely with the Alexander technique. But once I came here to the United States, the crystals kidnapped me. I bought crystals. I'd heard about crystal healing. I was in awe and admiration. I loved crystals. I tell the stories about that. It's all, you know, it's all here in the book.
Yeah.
And I was extremely attracted to crystals, and I had a few, and they were on an etagere, you know, a shelf, you know, with glass, and there was decor in our schoolroom, and which was also my my studio for giving sessions. Nice big rooms, you know. I always like a nice big room to work in, and the crystals called me over. And the woman on the table, she was actually the mother superior of her order. She was a nun, and she was actually the mother superior. And a crystal calls me over and says, I want to work on her. And I don't know what's going on. I didn't know what was going on. I thought, what? So anyway, I'd pick up the crystal, and it was a crystal we bought in a junk store in a town called Neisner. It's a resort town on the Garden Route in the Cape Province. It was the Cape Province, and I don't know what it's all. I think it's still the Cape Province in South Africa. They changed some of the names when in the 1990s when the ANC came in and the apartheid system ended. So. But we'd already left. We left South Africa in 1991, the end of 1991. So anyway, this crystal, it kind of dragged me around the table. You know how a dog can pull you? Well, you'll know how a dog can pull you on a lead. Well, there it was. The crystal was just like a canine spirit guide pulling me on the lead. And I just like went over her body and I did stuff. And we were both completely silent. Now, this Mother Superior, this woman, she's no longer with us, but she had the most extraordinary healing capacities. We would do healing circles that she would lead, and you could feel the etheric energy form pillars, actual pillars in the room. And she could heal people of cancer and all kinds of. There were a few stories where people arrived for their surgery and the doctor would say, let me check one more time before I actually cut you. And he'd go, I don't know what happened, but it's gone.
My goodness.
Yeah, true stories. Anyway, she and it's a word of caution. She was not trained as a healer, and she was using her own energy, which some of the shaman do that, and it uses you up, and it is what happened to you. If you want to do healing, it's better to have skill sets that you use than to use yourself as the healing conduit, because it can be debilitating and it can even be toxic. You do have to be careful about it. Yes. And it is one of the reasons that I started Four Winds Academy for the Healing Arts and Sciences. And how that came about was that we had the Alexander schoolroom and we had all the tables and we had the space and everything. And then I got a message in the way that we get messages where we don't know if it's an idea of our own or if it's something that came in from outside. And I wasn't familiar with that. Yeah. But boom, I was told you must use this space 24/7. Or if not 24/7, 12/7. You've got all this equipment. You need another school. And it's a school for training healers, because healing needs to become a full-on profession during the 21st century. And in order for it to become a full-on profession, there needs to be schools and proper professional training. And that's why I established Four Winds Academy for the Healing Arts and Sciences. Did I need more work? No. I had a young family. I was way into martial arts, doing taekwondo. I was playing racquetball. I had a full-on busy private practice. I already had an Alexander Technique training course. So I was busy, and here comes another.
Never convenient.
We did it. And that school was shown to me, and it was my job to bring it into the school. And actually the presentation that we're going to do on July 13th is technically a Four Winds Academy presentation. And it's because Midge, she's also someone who's working to establish healing, the healing professions in a more mainstreamly acceptable way. And I think that her work is very, very, very important for establishing energy healing as a viable profession in our society. And, and that's why I wanted her to also speak in that free call, because I think anyone who's committed to energy healing in whichever modality, but if they're committed to it and want to see it grow and be more accessible for people and more respected and to be able to reach more, then we need to become a little bit more mainstream, and we need to be able to show, yes, we truly are professionals. And so that's why I was so excited when I met Midge. I was so excited when I met you, Heatherleigh, and I was so excited when I met Midge Murphy. And that's why we're going to do that presentation together, because I think it's going to be an amazing thing for us to do as a team together, because we committed to that professionalism, even though what we're doing is hardly regarded as mainstream yet. But there we are. We have to do it. We're messengers and we're mentors, and we're being guided. and all the things that I do, and I'm not one to wing it, but all the things that we do, it's from guidance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I'm like you. I'm a very systematic, logical person. And for me to just throw that all out the window and follow my gut is really hard.
Absolutely. And that's what was so hard for me with the crystal surgery and the crystals was it was like it felt like I was making it up as I go along. And it's not my style. My style is to go and get a proper training, to have textbooks and so on. And so, long story short, because, what am I going to do? There's just too much to say. I ended up researching crystal surgery for 25 years and then turned it into this textbook because that's one way you can become more mainstream. Let me just get this.
And that is a beautiful book. Oh my goodness. That book just speaks to me. There's so much frequency coming off of that book, Vivien. It's amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's 25 years of research and development. And then, of course, the writing of the book and the photography and everything. It just, it's been wonderful. And you know what? We've only got 4 copies left from this print run.
Oh my goodness.
It's basically, it's sold out and we're about to reprint in paperback. And it's kind of exciting that people are responding this well. And I feel like the name crystal surgery is getting out there and I know that other crystal healing authors and developers are in respect of this book. And it feels good. It feels good. But I cannot claim it as my work because in this book, it's 100 years worth of work that it represents. I mean, there's over 100 techniques and procedures, and they're well researched and documented. And it's designed so that if you follow the procedures and the steps correctly, you'll get the same results as I do. It's not from personal gift or skill or talent. It's from technical accuracy as well as intention and what is in your heart. You can never take that out of anything we do. People want to call it placebo. It's intention and what is in your heart.
Yes.
It's just as important, but that must be married to technique and procedure and accuracy and respect.
Yes.
Respect for what is and why it is. And that's the only way we can get the changes we want. So there is a huge amount in here. And but it's a download. There's no way a human being can do that on her own. There's just no way. So between the crystals and the teamwork from the crystals and the crystals telling me what to do, the spirit guides helping me. There's some very, very powerful spirit guides that come through in
yes, you do.
very, very clear manner. And they used to speak to me in riddles. And then I had this amazing intuitive. She came to me. She wanted to do an exchange with me, and she dies. She's lying on my table. She says, "Why do your spirit guides talk to you in riddles?" I said, "I don't know, but make them stop because I can't stand it." When I was establishing Four Winds Academy, I needed a name, and all they would tell me was the name is under your nose. Thank you. But you need to help me. And I said, "But what is the name of this academy you want me to establish?" They said, "The name is under your nose." So one day I'm standing in my kitchen and I'm looking at the mail and there's the address. We live on Four Winds Drive. And I look up and the name is under my nose because I'm looking at the mail. And I look across the road and there's our street sign. Four Winds Drive. And I go, Four Winds Academy. And it's been a wonderful name. It's been the right name. And it's like, the name was under my nose, but why couldn't they just tell me?
That's what some people don't understand about spirit guides is that they're not always correct. They have a sense of humor. And sometimes they're not just going to hand it to you. They want you to meet them halfway and figure
And they
it
want
out.
you to work. You have to show your commitment. And
Yes.
the other thing about spirit guides, Heatherleigh, they don't understand money. I've had to give them so many lectures.
Or time. They don't understand time either.
They don't understand time. They don't understand money. So I said to them, this all takes money. We've got this thing called money here on earth.
Yeah.
And so the next time, the same intuitive that had asked about the riddles, but this was about 5 years later, she said, I just got a message from the guides that I must make a donation. She did tithing. I must make my donation to the winds. And the only winds I know is 4 winds. So I complained to the spirit guides, what? We need money. And they ran off to that same intuitive and said, give the winds money. She got the message. And then her husband at that time, he used to send this check every month, a donation to 4 Winds Academy, and he'd send it with a joke, like a Far Side joke or something like that. And it was wonderful. and then she went off to live in Sedona, and so then she wasn't in Cincinnati anymore.
Oh.
So there's some, once you open your mind and your heart to this guidance, there are such wonderful inspirational stories, aren't there? It's just so extraordinary. Yeah.
When you can finally hear and connect.
Yes.
And then you have to understand how to interpret sometimes, like you just.
I know, because you can go on a wild goose chase, and I've seen that with other people, but I'm really, really careful. I've got a 3-time rule. They want me to do something. Tell me 3 times, then I know it is you. Show me, give me the signs. We contract for signs so that I can I can just be confirmed, because I have seen people that are highly intuitive and are connected to spirit guides. Psychology can cut across that. Fear can cut across that. And ego can cut across that. And I have seen them go on wild goose chases, and I don't want to be part of that, because I haven't got time for a wild goose. I haven't got energy. That's my story was. I haven't got the time and the energy. So for me to commit time and energy to something, I need it confirmed, and I need to feel that support. If I'm not getting the support, I can't proceed. So that's always more of a sign, So it's like I said, I can't proceed without money. So the money came in.
Yeah. And when you have that two-way communication, I think it's important for people to understand that we're not just in receiving mode, but we also have the capacity to ask for what we need to fulfill what we're being told to do.
Yes, we're a team. We're part of a team. Huh? And then there must be a back and forth. There must be a give and take. So yeah, absolutely. Yes. Science is a big thing. And I'm an empiricist. I'm not one for, these very limited scientific experiments that yield no information. I mean, I studied a soft science, psychology, and the nonsense that they would make us research, like, oh, children need love. It's like, dudes, can we just move to what's actually groundbreaking and important? So that's people like us, Heatherleigh, that are willing to take the risk, but we still do our research, and we are still using our logical faculties, and we still have to be grounded, and we still have to have an integrated body of knowledge that actually makes both internal and external sense. And this is why I respect your work so much, because you're clearly on that same track. Yes, I'm going to talk about something that people are going to say is woo-woo, but I am going to make it accessible, because I do commit to a scientific method. And then I was studying a soft science, and they make you do research. And those are all the things that set me up and caused that the spirit guides to ask me to be the download for crystal surgery. These are all these different elements. The fact that I could be a writer, the fact that I was intuitive and willing to listen to them, the fact that I had studied the scientific method, and all those different elements showed why it would be me that would have the pleasure of doing this. But I just want to say that I've been interviewing a lot of different people, Heatherleigh, and you just inspired me so much. And I just felt like we were on parallel tracks, and I wanted my community to get to meet you because, of course, people love dogs. And I know that dogs are so important. And I have a lot of people that are animal communicators and animal do healing for animals and so on. And I want them to meet you. And that's why I wanted to have you on the call as well, because I think that your work is very significant and also very accessible. You know, the moment that we hear, oh, there's such a thing as canine spirit guides, we go, yeah, I did know that. And then you've given us the next, I don't know if it's 3 to 10, I don't know how many levels up you've taken it, but you're giving us something that we didn't have before. And that is phenomenal.
It definitely is a whole new level.
Yes.
And because of that, they won't let me do the other stuff. Like, I'm like, why can't I communicate with dogs? I'm doing all this work. Why can't I hear what the dogs are saying?
No, because
they don't want me to spend time there. They're like, there's so many people doing that. You need to stay in your lane where we put you.
I know. It's the same, because I wanted to write a general book about crystal healing. And they said, Vicky, they always tell me anyone can do that. Stay with what only you can do. So you're saying stay in your lane, and they're just saying because I said, well, why do I have to write for an ever smaller target market? And they said, because you can, and because you're not after fame, and this is not about your ego. This is about service, and so you're willing to do that. And you have to, that growing tip is just the smallest point of a taproot is the growing tip. And it has to push down into the earth and get there. And then all the other root hairs have to come off that taproot. And we are the tip of the taproot, just extending. You know, we're the radicals. We are.
Yeah. Oh, I've always been a radical. I have never conformed to anything in my life.
But we're radicals in a good way. We're radicals for building, not, we're not trying to tear anything down, and we're thought leaders.
So I was hoping you'd give a little light to a couple of crystals that one of the canine spirit guides loves to use in her healing sessions. And that is, number one crystal she loves is Apophyllite. And I didn't know this crystal existed. I knew nothing about it until I got on a call with you, and you kind of shared with me what the capacity of this crystal is all about. And then I finally began to understand why she was using it so much. Would you like to share with us what this crystal is and what it does?
Sure. So white apophyllite, I have a very nice cluster here. I'll just hold it up.
Oh, that's a big piece. Wow.
Okay, so, and it comes in these points. They call them pyramids. It's got a flat base and a point. So then this is a cluster of those pyramid points. You can see that one there. So that's a white apophyllite. And I use this a lot. I use it in almost every session, and I will explain how. Now, the thing with white apophyllite is it's got very high frequency. It's the highest frequency tool that I use. The phenakite has a higher frequency than white apophyllite, but it's too high for me. It gives me an instant headache. And but this is the high frequency for. So phenakite's going to take you up into the ether. So when I'm doing healing work, I really want people to be doing well here on planet Earth. I'm really wanting to get their physical being, their physiological being, their mental being, their emotional being, as well as their spirit in an integration and a coordination. And this is the highest frequency I would want to use, because I need it to be able to relate to the physical and physiological, not only the spiritual soul aspects. And so for me, phenakite is just too high a vibration. Now, the thing with white apophyllite is that the novice will mistake it for quartz. Quartz is more gray in its appearance. Whereas, so this is a beautiful quartz crystal and a beautiful formation, but it is, you might be able to see, especially close to where my baby finger is there, it's kind of gray compared to the white apophyllite. White apophyllite is silvery, and it's that silver vibration that's very high and speaks to the spirit and the soul. And so it's really lovely, and it really raises vibrational frequencies. So when we're not well, or we're depressed, or we're exhausted, our vibrational frequency starts to drop. And then in crystal surgery, you have what we call a white light infusion. And so we infuse the white light into the person to raise the vibrational frequency, to bring them back into feeling well and balanced and energized. And that's what I specifically use white apophyllite for. So, and I do it in two ways. I have a white apophyllite bed, so that's another cluster. And then I take the proxy crystal, so I've attuned this to the client, so this is for remote sessions, and then I'll literally just have to adjust this. See, let me do it this way. And then I actually lay the proxy crystal on the apophyllite bed. So I call this an apophyllite bed, and I lay the crystal on, and then I also infuse from the top. So I connect in, so I need 3 hands here. And I connect in, and I also infuse from the top by using both these stones. And so I'm literally putting the person in a white apophyllite sandwich. And I love white apophyllite. You'll never see a big white apophyllite crystal like this. A white apophyllite crystal is about that size. This is, and they come bigger than this, but not a lot bigger. And they come in these clusters, like so. So this is like a stalactite. You can see it's got a core to it. And it's just, this is Indian material. It comes from India. And it's just an amazing, amazing stone. And this other stone here, this is stilbite. And then, it occurs together, they grow together. And stilbite's also obviously got wonderful properties. But white apophyllite is just, it's a very, very high vibrational frequency, and it invites you to a higher vibrational frequency. I always like to use the word invite, or you don't want to manipulate people's energy. You want to invite the energy to start to shift and to change. And you don't want to be forceful in any way. And white apophyllite is not forceful. Whereas I found the phenakite is a little bit too forceful, even though it's got a high vibration. It's also very expensive, whereas this is not such an expensive stone, and it's readily available. And this is important when you're talking about crystals and crystal healing, is you can run up incredible expense and so on. And so the fact that Anthea, who I see is also a cheetah, one of my power animals, incidentally.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I usually share about my power animals, but I have a big relationship with cats in the cat kingdom. I myself am a Leo astrologically. Cheetahs are really, really important to me. People say, what are you? I say, I'm a cheetah. I work in quick sprints and get stuff done. But then after that, I have to rest.
Yeah.
And so, I think of my energy as cheetah-like and so on. So it's very interesting to me. And I love white apophyllite too.
Wow.
And it's one of the important stones in crystal surgery. So this is a crystal surgery wand. What is a crystal surgery wand? It's a wand that has certain stones in combination. So white apophyllite and metamorphosis quartz. And I believe that these are surgical tools of the future. They already do laser surgery, which is a combination of ruby and copper tubing and careful design. So that's from the 1960s. And they put crystals in physical therapy tools. Of course, the pacemaker has got quartz in it to maintain the beat and so on. So I think that these are also precursors to surgical tools of the future, and I'm using them in crystal surgery. And white apophyllite, very, very, very important in crystal surgery.
I had no idea.
No.
Isn't that beautiful how that happens? Just
but
beautiful.
All roads lead to Rome. We're Heatherleigh, we're dealing with the truth. I'm
Yeah.
looking at truths, you're looking at truth. That's why I like you so much, just to
Aw.
say it perfectly frankly, is I'm not listening to you and going, like, channeled stuff. I'm looking at you and I'm like, oh, I'm in the presence of truth.
Oh,
It's a big
thank
difference to
you.
me. It makes a big, big, big difference to me.
Yeah.
Because, we're not doing this just for fun. We're doing it because it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
And it's what humanity requires to move us forward. That's what's so beautiful,
That's right.
It's a planetary mission. Although Anthea uses apophyllite just like a plant medicine. It's incredible.
It is. And the way that I use crystals in crystal surgery, it's got a homeopathic aspect to it as well. And, we did also mention previously crazy lace agate.
Oh,
And so
yes.
I did want to show, I have a personal piece of crazy lace agate. And you can see it's amazing. The color of this one is unusual. It's sort of green, a kind of a greeny khaki color. But and then usually there's a pink and red lines in crazy lace agate. This doesn't have it, but this is a personal piece, and it is really for helping the mind to coordinate, because it just shows that kind of network that has to be going on in the nervous system in order to yield information and be able to access. This is a personal meditation piece for me. They're very calming and very soothing, but it's also invigorating and activating for the nervous system. So, I did want to share, since I brought it along, and it didn't want to be left out.
Oh, okay.
So, that's the thing. They're also sentient beings, and the crystals like to show off. So, who am I to argue with a crystal? So,
Well, and Anthea has recently started, I picked up a crazy lace agate at a show recently, and I didn't know why. It just drew me to it.
Yes.
Beautiful piece. I should have brought it to show. But right away in that next session I did with Anthea, she brought in the crazy lace agate in that session, and she uses it differently than she does the apophyllite. So I found that very fascinating.
Yes.
And I keep asking, do I need to learn crystal surgery? Do I need to know what all these crystals are and how to use them? And they say, no. We'll just tell you what you need to know.
Let them do it. Let them do it. And the crystals, and you can have it for yourself and see what comes out of it. But you don't have to. As soon as you said that, I was like, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
So for yourself, yes, you can explore them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Vivien. Love you dearly, my friend.
Thank you. Love you too.
Love you all. Thanks so much for watching. Like, share, and follow. And let's take this journey together. Bye.